The rain was coming down so hard that morning I could really see 3 feet in front of me, but I saw Patricia's face clear enough when she opened that door. She looked at me like I was something she had scraped off her shoe, and before I could even get the word, "please," out of my mouth, she said, "No room for you," and I felt the last bit of hope I had been holding onto for 3 days just crumble in my chest like dry bread that I had been walking for 6 hours. My boots were full of water, my coat was soaked through to my skin, and my daughter Lily was shivering against my leg, her little fingers wrapped so tight around mine that I could feel her pulse racing through her palm. We had no car, no money, no plan. My husband had been dead for 11 months, and every single day of those 11 months had been a battle I was losing. The funeral costs had eaten our savings. The medical bills had taken the rest. I had sold our wedding rings, our furniture, even my mother's china set that she had left me in her will, the only thing she ever gave me that was worth anything. And now I was standing on my brother's porch, the brother who had promised our dying father he would always look after me, and his wife was telling me there was no room. "No room for you," Patricia repeated, and this time she looked down at Lily with something that made my stomach turn. It wasn't pity. It wasn't even anger. It was disgust, pure and simple, like my daughter was a stain on her perfectly clean doorstep. And no room for her either. "You made your choices, Margaret. You married that man. You left this family. You chose love over money, and look where that got you." Standing in my rain, dripping on my porch, begging like a stray dog. I wanted to say something. I wanted to tell her that my husband had been a good man, a kind man, a man who worked double shifts and never complained and held my hand when he was dying and told me I was strong enough to survive anything. I wanted to tell her that I didn't leave the family because I wanted to, I left because my brother told me if I married him I was dead to him, and I chose the man who loved me over the brother who was ashamed of me. But I didn't say any of that. I just stood there, shivering, holding my daughter, feeling the rain run down my face and mix with the tears I was trying so hard to hide. "Please," I said, and my voice cracked on that word, that single pathetic word that I had sworn I would never say to anyone. "Just a few days, Patricia. Just until I find a place. I'll sleep on the floor. I'll CK for you. I'll clean. I'll do anything." She laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, like breaking glass. "You think I want you in my house? You think I want your dirty hands on my dishes, your child running around my clean floors? I have a reputation, Margaret. I have a life. I am not going to let you drag me down to your level just because you made a series of terrible decisions." My brother's voice came from inside the house. "Pat, who is it?" "Nobody," she called back, without even turning her head. "Just a stray. I'm handling it." I heard his footsteps approaching, heavy and slow, the way he always walked when he was tired. And for a second, just a second, I let myself hope. I let myself believe that he would come to the door and see his sister, his own flesh and blood, standing there with his niece, and he would remember the promise he made to our father. He would open the door and pull us in and wrap us in towels and give us soup and tell us everything was going to be okay. But then Patricia said, louder this time, I said I'm handling it, and the footsteps stopped. They stopped, and then they retreated, and I knew with absolute certainty that my brother was not coming to save me. That was the moment something inside me shifted. It wasn't a big shift, not then. It was small, almost invisible, like a crack in a dam that you can't see but you can feel, the water pressing against it, the pressure building. I didn't know then what that shift meant. I just knew that I couldn't stand there anymore, begging, hoping, waiting for someone who was never going to come. Patricia saw something change in my face, and she smiled. It was a smug, satisfied smile, like she had won something. Here, she said, and she disappeared inside for a moment. When she came back, she was holding something in her hand, a small tarnished object that she tossed at me like she was throwing a bone to a dog. I caught it against my chest. It was a locket. Silver, old, the chain tangled and broken, the clasp rusted. Your grandmother's, Patricia said. She left it to my husband, but we don't want it. It's ugly. It's worthless. Just like you. She slammed the door. I heard the bolt click. I heard the chain slide across. I heard her footsteps walk away, her voice calling out to my brother, her laughter, light and carefree, like she hadn't just crushed the last remaining piece of my dignity. That I stood there for a long time. I don't know how long. The rain kept falling, and Lily kept shivering, and I just read at that closed door, the door that was supposed to open for me, the door that was supposed to be a refuge. My brother was on the other side of that door. My brother, who had played with me in the backyard when we were children, who had taught me to ride a bike, who had walked me down the aisle when our father was too sick to stand. My brother, who had promised our dying father he would always take care of me. He was on the other side of that door, and he was letting his wife throw me out into the rain like garbage. Mommy, Lily whispered, her voice so small I almost couldn't hear it over the rain. Why did she say that she's not that old? I laughed. I didn't mean to. It just came out, a raw, ugly sound that was half laugh and half sob, and I knelt down in the puddle on that porch and pulled my daughter into my arms. She was so small, so cold, so trusting. She didn't understand why her aunt hated her. She didn't understand why her uncle wouldn't come to the door. She didn't understand that the world was a hard place, a cruel place, a place that would chew you up and spit you out if you weren't careful. She's older than she looks, honey, I said, my voice shaking. Much older. I stood up slowly. My knees ached. My back ached. Everything ached. I looked down at the locket in my hand. The silver was tarnished, almost black in places, but underneath the grime I could see delicate engravings, flowers and vines and tiny leaves. It was beautiful, in a broken kind of way. It was exactly the kind of thing Patricia would throw away because she couldn't see the value in something that needed work. That I pried the locket open with my thumbnail. The hinges were stiff, but they gave way eventually. Inside, there was a tiny photograph. A woman I didn't recognize. Dark hair, dark eyes, a smirk on her lips like she knew something you didn't. She was wearing overalls and holding a wrench. On the other side, there was a date, faded and barely legible, and a name. Elena. And under that, a phone number. I read at it for a long time. I didn't know who Elena was. I didn't know why my grandmother had her picture in a locket she left to my brother. I didn't know why Patricia had thrown it at me like it was nothing. But I was holding it now, this small broken thing, this piece of my grandmother's past that everyone else had discarded. And that crack inside me, that tiny invisible crack, it grew just a little bit wider. I put the locket in my pocket, the one that wasn't leaking water, and I took Lily's hand, and we walked away from that door. We walked down the steps and out the gate and onto the street, and I didn't look back. I couldn't look back. If I looked back, I would fall apart. We walked for another hour before we found a bus stop with a bench and a little roof that kept some of the rain off. We sat down, both of us soaked, both of us exhausted, and I pulled Lily onto my lap and wrapped my coat around her. She fell asleep almost immediately, her head against my chest, her breathing slow, and even I sat there in the dark, holding my sleeping daughter, listening to the rain hammer on that thin metal roof, and I felt the weight of everything pressing down on me. The grief. The exhaustion. The humiliation. The fear. I had nothing. No house, no money, no job, no family that wanted me. I was 48 years old, and I was rooting over from less than nothing. I pulled the locket out of my pocket again. I opened it and looked at Elena's face, that confident smirk, that knowing look. Who was she? What was she to my grandmother? Why was her picture hidden inside a locket that was hidden inside a drawer that was thrown at me like garbage? The phone number was still there. Faded, but readable. I read at it for a long time. I thought about my grandmother, the woman I remembered, the woman who died when I was 6 years old. My mother used to tell me stories about her. She said she was tough, tougher than anyone she had ever known. She said she built a business from nothing, with nothing but her own 2 hands and a stubborn streak a mile wide. She said she never let anyone tell her she couldn't do something. I thought about my grandmother, and then I thought about Patricia, and then I thought about my brother, and then I thought about Lily, asleep in my arms, trusting me to keep her safe. And I made a decision that it was a small decision, at first. Just a tiny shift, like turning a key in a lock. I was going to call that number. I was going to find out who Elena was. I was going to find out what my grandmother wanted me to know. Because Patricia had thrown this locket at me like it was worthless, but I knew better now. Things that look broken aren't always worthless. Sometimes they're just waiting for someone to see their value. I pulled out my phone. It was the only thing I had left that was worth anything, and even it was cracked and held together with tape. The battery was at 12%. I typed in the number, slowly, carefully, making sure I got it right. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. Hello, a woman's voice. Rough, like she smoked a pack a day and didn't see who knew it. Who is this? I opened my mouth to speak, and nothing came out. I was so cold, so tired, so broken that I couldn't even form words. Hello. She said again, sharper this time. Who is this? I don't have all day. My name is Margaret, I said, and my voice came out thin and cracked, rely more than a whisper. I found your number in a locket. It belonged to my grandmother. Rose Kovacs. I think maybe she knew you. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm calling. I'm stranded. I have my daughter. I have nothing else. The silence on the other end was so long I thought she had hung up. I was about to end the call when she said, "What did you say your grandmother's name was?" Rose Kovacs. Another silence. Longer this time. Then a sharp inhale, like she had been holding her breath for years and finally let it go. Where are you? She said. I told her the bus stop. I told her the street corner. I told her I was sitting on a bench with my sleeping daughter and I had nowhere else to go. Stay there, she said. Don't move. I'm coming. The phone went dead. I read at the screen, my cracked, taped-up phone with its 12% battery, and I didn't know what to feel. Relief. Hope, fear, or I felt all of it and none of it. Lily stirred in my arms, mumbling something in her sleep. I held her tighter. The rain kept falling. The world kept spinning. And I waited. I didn't know who was coming. I didn't know why my grandmother had kept that number hidden in a locket for so many years. I didn't know if the woman on the other end was a friend or a stranger or something else entirely. All I knew was that I had nothing left to lose. Patricia had thrown me away. My brother had turned his back. The world had given me every reason to give up. But I was still sitting on that bench. I was still holding my daughter. I was still breathing. I was still here. And in that moment, sitting in the rain with a broken locket in my pocket and a sleeping child in my arms, I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. I felt like I was right where I was supposed to be. I sat on that bench for 23 minutes. I know exactly how long because I counted every single second, watching the rain turn from a downpour to a drizzle to a mist, watching the streetlights flicker on one by one, watching my daughter's chest rise and fall against mine. 23 minutes of nothing but the sound of water and the weight of a broken locket in my pocket. Then I heard the engine. It was loud and rough, the kind of engine that had been patched together more times than it had been replaced. The truck that pulled up to the curb was rusted and dented, the paint faded to a color that might have been blue once but was now just gray. The woman who got out was older than me, maybe 70, with white hair that stuck out in all directions and a face that looked like it had been through a war, and one that she was wearing coveralls and work boots and a scowl that could strip paint off a wall. She walked right up to me, didn't say a word, just looked me up and down, then looked at Lily, then looked back at me. "You're Rose's granddaughter," she said. It wasn't a question. Yes. She nodded, like she had just confirmed something she already knew. "Get in the truck." I didn't argue. I couldn't afford to argue. I stood up, my legs shaking, my arms aching from holding Lily for so long, and I ride my daughter to the passenger side. The woman reached past me and opened the door, and I saw that the seat was covered in a blanket, old and worn but clean. She had put it there for us. She had known we were wet and cold, and she had put a blanket on the seat before she left. "Put her in the middle," she said. "There's more blankets in the back. Wrap her up." I did what she said. I climbed in, settled Lily on the seat beside me, and pulled 2 more blankets from the back, wrapping them around my daughter's small body. She didn't wake up. She just burrowed deeper into the RMTH and let out a little sigh. The woman got in on the driver's side and slammed the door. The truck rattled and shook as she root the engine, and I could feel the vibration through the seat, through my bones. She didn't say anything. She just pulled away from the curb and drove. We drove in silence for a long time. Through streets I didn't recognize, past neighborhoods that got worse before they got better, past boa-rided-up windows and empty lots and houses that looked like they had given up on themselves years ago. I watched the city change around me, watched the lights get dimmer and the streets get narrower, and I didn't ask where we were going. I didn't have the right to ask. Finally, she pulled up to a building that used to be a garage. The sign above the door read, "Kovacs and Sons," in faded letters, the paint peeling so badly I could really read it. The windows were boa-rided up. The front door looked like it hadn't been opened in years. But there was a light on inside, a single yellow glow that came from somewhere in the back. "This is yours," she said. I read at the building. Then at her. "I'm sorry, your grandmother left it to you. Not your brother. You." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a set of keys, old and tarnished, and handed them to me. "She gave me that locket before she died. Told me to give it to you when you were ready. Told me to tell you that you were never meant to be small. That you were meant to build. Not beg." I took the keys. They were heavy in my hand, heavier than they should have been. I looked at the building again, at the boa-rided windows, at the peeling paint, at the single yellow light in the back. "I don't understand," I said. "Why would she leave it to me? I really knew her. She died when I was 6. I don't remember anything about her except that she smelled like sawdust and she always had dirt under her fingernails." The woman laughed. It was a short, rough sound, like gravel being shaken in a tin can. "That's exactly why she left it to you. You remembered the important things. Sawdust and dirt. Work. She knew your brother wouldn't appreciate it. He wanted money. He wanted nice things. He didn't want this place. He didn't want to get his hands dirty." She got out of the truck and walked around to my side, opening the door before I could move. "Come on. I'll show you around." I picked up Lily, still wrapped in blankets, still sleeping, and I followed the woman into the building. The door creaked when she pushed it open, and the smell hit me first. Oil and dust and old wood, the smell of a place that had been closed up for too long. I stepped inside and looked around. It was a workshop. A big one. The main room was filled with workbenches and tools, old and rusted but still there, still waiting. There were half-finished projects everywhere, chairs with missing legs, tables with broken tops, cabinets with smashed doors. The walls were covered in blueprints and photographs and handwritten notes, faded and yellowed with age. In the back, there was a small office. A desk, a chair, a filing cabinet. And a photograph on the wall. A woman with dark hair and dark eyes and a smirk on her face, holding a wrench in one hand and a baby in the other. My grandmother. That's her, I whispered. That's Rose. The woman nodded. She built this place from nothing. Came here with $10 RS and a sewing machine and a dream. Had to lie about her age to get a job in the factory. Had to fight for every inch of ground she ever stood on. But she built it. She built it all. I walked over to the photograph and touched the glass with my fingertips. Who are you? I asked. How did you know my grandmother? The woman was quiet for a moment. Then she said, my name is Elena. I was her partner. Not in business. In everything else. She never told anyone about me. It wasn't safe. Not in those days. But I was there. I was always there. She left me that locket to remember her by. And she left me instructions to give it to you when you were ready. I turned to look at her. Elena. The face in the locket. The face I had been staring at for hours, wondering who she was. You're Elena, I said. You're the woman in the picture. She nodded. I was. I still am. I'm still here. And I've been waiting a long time to meet you, Marga. Rose talked about you all the time. She said you had her spirit. She said you would need this place one day. I don't know how to run a business, I said. I don't know how to do any of this. I've never fixed anything in my life. I can change a light bulb. Elena smiled. It was a crooked smile, missing one tooth, and it made her look younger somehow. Neither did she when she root. She learned. And so will you. Lily stirred in my arms, mumbling something in her sleep. I looked down at her small face, at the trust written all over it, and I felt the weight of everything pressing down on me again. I have no money, I said. No food. No place to sleep tonight. I have nothing. Elena walked over to a cabinet and pulled out a key. She opened it and pulled out a box, old and dusty, and handed it to me. Inside, there was cash. Not a lot, but enough. Enough for food. Enough for supplies. Enough to get root. Rose left this too, she said. She knew you would come. She knew you would need it. She believed in you, Marga. More than anyone else in your family ever did. I looked at the money. Then at the workshop. Then at my daughter. And I felt that shift again, that small crack inside me, growing a little bit wider. She believed in me, I repeated. My grandmother. A woman I really knew. Believed in me. More than you know, Elena said. She used to say that the world breaks everyone. But some people, the strong ones, they get stronger at the broken places. She said you were one of those people. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The smell of oil and dust filled my lungs. The weight of the locket was still in my pocket, warm against my thigh. The keys were still in my hand, heavy and real. Okay, I said. Okay. I'll try. And I meant it. For the first time in 11 months, I meant it. That night, Elena helped me set up a cot in the back room. It wasn't much, just a thin mattress on a metal frame, but it was dry and warm and it was ours. I laid Lily down and covered her with blankets and watched her sleep for a long time. Elena made tea. She didn't ask if I wanted any. She just handed me a cup, hot and sweet, and sat down across from me at the workbench. You're going to have to learn fast, she said. The building needs work. The roof leaks. The pipes are rusted. The tools need to be cleaned and oiled. And you need to figure out what you're going to make. I don't know what to make, I said. I don't know how to make anything. Elena looked around the workshop, at the half-finished projects, at the tools, at the blueprints on the walls. You'll figure it out, she said. Start with something small. Something simple. A chair. A table. Something you can fix. I looked at the broken furniture scattered around the room. A chair with a missing leg. A table with a cracked top. A cabinet with a smashed door. All of it broken. All of it waiting to fix, I repeated. Not make. Fix. Same thing, Elena said. You fix enough broken things, you become a builder. That's what Rose taught me. That's what I'm going to teach you. I took a sip of the tea. It burned my tongue, but I didn't see a re. It was rm. It was the first rm thing I had felt in hours. Why did Patricia throw the locket at me? I asked. Why didn't she keep it? Why didn't my brother keep it? Elena's face hardened. Because they didn't know what it was. They didn't know about me. They didn't know about Rose's past. They just saw an old piece of jewelry that needed work, and they threw it away. It's the same way they threw you away. They can't see the value in anything that isn't already perfect. Patricia said I was worthless, I said, and I hated how my voice cracked on that word. She said I made bad choices. She said I deserved everything that happened to me. Elena leaned forward and put her hand on mine. Her skin was rough, calloused from years of work, but her touch was gentle. You listen to me, Margaret, she said. You didn't make bad choices. You made the only choices you could make. You loved your husband. You stood by him. You took care of him until the end. And when he was gone, you didn't give up. You kept going. You kept fighting. You're still fighting. That's not weakness. That's strength. I looked at her hand on mine. I looked at the workshop around me. I looked at my daughter, sleeping peacefully in the back room. I don't feel strong, I said. I feel tired. I feel broken. Elena squeezed my hand. Good, she said. That's where the building starts. From the broken place. That's where the strong parts get made. The kettle whistled again. Elena got up to make more tea, and I sat there at the workbench, holding the locket in my hand, turning it over and over, feeling the rm silver against my cold skin. Patricia had thrown it at me. My brother had let her. They had both looked at me like I was nothing. But my grandmother had seen something in me. Something worth waiting for. Something worth building. I opened the locket one more time. Elena's face looked back at me, that same smirk, that same knowing look. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. It was a small smile. A broken smile. But it was real. Okay, Rose, I whispered. I'll try. The rain had stopped outside. The moon was coming out from behind the clouds. And somewhere in the distance, I heard the sound of a train whistle, long and low and full of promise. I put the locket back in my pocket. I finished my tea. And I got to work. The first week in that garage was the longest week of my life. I woke up every morning before the sun, my back aching from the thin cot, my hands raw from trying to clean rust off tools I didn't even know the names of. Elena showed up at 6 sharp every day, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a bag of groceries she never let me pay for. She didn't say much. She just handed me the coffee and pointed at whatever needed doing. You want to Leah RN, she said on the third morning, start with the chair. That one there. The one with the missing leg. I looked at the chair. It was old, oak, the kind of heavy furniture that used to sit in dining rooms where families gathered for Sunday dinner. Someone had revet initials into the backrest. JS and MK. In a HRT. The right front leg was snapped clean off, splintered at the joint. I don't know how to fix that, I said. I don't even know where to start. Elena pulled up a stool and sat down across from me. First thing you do is look at it. Not just look. See. What's broken, what's still good, what needs to be replaced, and what just needs to be glued. I read at the chair. The legs. The seat. The back. The CA read initials. The broken joint, the leg is broken, I said. But the rest of it is still solid. The joints are re-tight. The wood isn't rotten. I just need to figure out how to put a new leg on. Good, Elena said. Now go find a piece of wood that matches. I spent the next 2 hours sorting through scrap wood in the back room. Elena had stacks of it, old planks and beams and offcuts from jobs she'd done decades ago. I ran my hands over each piece, feeling the grain, compa ring the color to the oak of the chair. Finally, I found a piece that matched almost perfectly. Now what? I asked it. Now you cut it, Elena said. She handed me a saw. Measure twice. Cut once. That's the rule. Measure twice. Cut once. I measured. I cut. I measured again. I cut again. The first 3 pieces were wrong. Too short, too crooked, too thick. But the 4th piece was right. It fit into the joint like it had always belonged there. Now glue it, Elena said. Clamp it. Let it dry overnight. Tomorrow, you sand it and stain it and oil it. By the end of the week, that chair will be stronger than it ever was. I looked at the chair. It was still ugly. Still broken. But it was on its way to being whole again. And I had done that. With my own 2 hands. That night, after Lily was asleep, I sat in the workshop with a cup of tea and the locket in my hand. I opened it and looked at Elena's face, then at the faded writing on the other side. Elena, I said out loud. Who are you really? I heard footsteps behind me and turned. Elena was standing in the doorway, her arms crossed, her face unreadable. I'm the woman who loved your grandmother, she said. I'm the woman who helped her build this place. And I'm the woman who's been waiting 40 years to meet you. I didn't know what to say. So I just sat there, holding the locket, waiting. Elena walked over and sat down across from me. She took a deep breath, the kind of breath you take before you say something you've been holding in for a long time. Your grandmother and I met in 1962, she said. She was working at the factory. I was working at the garage down the street. She came in one day with a flat tire and a broken ERT. Her husband had just left her. She had a baby at home. She didn't have a dime to her name. She paused, looking at the photograph on the wall. I fixed her tire. She didn't have money to pay me, so she offered to cook me dinner. I said yes. And that was it. That was the beginning. She never told anyone about you, I said. My mother never mentioned you. No one ever talked about you. No, Elena said. They didn't. Because it wasn't safe. Back then, 2 women couldn't be together like that. Not openly. Not if they wanted to keep their jobs, their families, their reputations. So we kept it secret. We built this place together, but to everyone else, Rose was just a widow who ran a garage. I was just a friend. A business partner. Nothing more. But she kept your picture in the locket, I said. She kept it for all those years. She did. Elena smiled, that same crooked smile. She said she wanted to carry me with her, always. Even if no one else knew. I looked at the locket. Then at Elena. Then at the workshop around me. She left this place to me, I said. Not my brother. Not her children. Me. Why? Because she believed in you, Elena said. She used to write letters to you. Every birthday. Every Christmas. She kept them in a box in her office. She never sent them, because she was afraid your mother would throw them away. But she wrote them. She watched you from a distance. She saw you grow up. She saw you get married. She saw you have a child of your own. And she knew, deep down, that you were the one who would carry on her work. I felt TRS pricking at my eyes. I blinked them back. I never knew any of this. I thought she forgot about me. Rose never forgot anything, Elena said. She remembered every detail. She remembered the way you laughed when you were 5. She remembered the way you cried when your father left. She remembered the way you walked down the aisle, confident and brave, even though you were terrified. Terrified, I repeated. That's me. That's always been me. Elena reached across the table and took my hand. That's not a weakness, Margaret. That's a strength. Being red and doing it anyway. That's the bravest thing a person can do. I held her hand and looked at her face, at the RS of hard work and hard times written in every line. I don't know if I can do this, I said. I don't know if I can build something from nothing. I don't know if I can be the person she thought I was. You already are, Elena said. You're here. You're trying. You're learning. That's all she ever wanted. The next morning, I woke up determined. I root working on the chair again, sanding it down, staining it, oiling it until the wood gleamed like new. When I was done, I sat in it. It was solid. Sturdy. Strong. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could do this. That's good work, Elena said, coming up behind me. But it's just the beginning. You've got a whole workshop full of broken things. And the world is full of people who need things fixed. What do you mean? I asked it. I mean it's time to start selling, she said. There's a flea market on the east side. Every weekend. We'll get you a booth. You can start selling what you make. I looked around the workshop. The broken chairs, the cracked tables, the smashed cabinets. All of it waiting. All of it ready to be fixed. I don't have any money, I said. I can't afford a booth. Elena reached into her pocket and pulled out a small roll of bills. I've got you covered. First 3 months on me. After that, you're on your own. I took the money. I didn't argue. I was done arguing. Okay, I said. Let's do this. The first weekend at the flea market was a disaster. I set up my booth with the chairs and tables I had fixed, arranged them as best I could, and waited. Nobody came. Nobody looked. Nobody bought anything. I sat there for 7 hours, watching people walk past me like I was invisible. But I kept going. The next weekend, I arranged the booth. I added some small things, picture frames I had fixed, a lamp I had rewired. A few people stopped. Nobody bought. The third weekend, I brought Lily with me. She sat on a chair I had fixed and colored in a notebook. A woman stopped and smiled at her. What a beautiful little girl, she said. How much for this chair? I looked at the chair. It was the one I had fixed first. The oak one with the initials CA Reved in the back. $50 Rs, I said. The woman paid. She didn't haggle. She just handed me the cash and walked away with the chair. I read at the money in my hand. $50 Rs. My first sale. Lily looked up at me. Mommy, we rich now, I laughed. It was a real laugh, not the ugly half-sob from before. Not yet, honey. But we're getting there. That was the beginning. The first sale. Then the second. Then the third. By the end of the second month, I had regular customers. By the end of the third, I had a waiting list. People came to me with broken furniture, heirlooms they had inherited from grandparents, pieces they couldn't bear or to throw away but didn't know how to fix. I fixed them all. Each one was a puzzle. Each one was a challenge. And each one made me a little stronger. I sta route to get noticed. A local blogger wrote about me. Then a newspaper. Then a television segment. I didn't seek any of it out. It just happened. And then, 6 months in, he walked into my booth. He was tall, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit that looked completely out of place among the flea market stalls. I recognized him immediately. I had seen his picture in the papers. He was the owner of a chain of high-end restaurants, the kind of places where dinner cost more than my monthly rent. He picked up a chair I had restored. It was a mahogany dining chair, one of a set I had found in a dumpster and painstakingly repaired. Every joint was reinforced. Every surface was refinished. It looked like it had come straight out of a museum. Good work, he said. Thank you, I said. My voice was steady, even though my hands were shaking. My wife and I own a restaurant downtown, he said. The old mahogany dining chairs are falling apart. We've been looking for someone to restore them. The last guy we hired ruined 2 of them. Do you do commissions? I looked at my hands. Covered in glue and sawdust and tiny scars. Then I looked at Lily, playing with a doll I had made from scraps of fabric and old buttons. Yes, I said. I do. He wrote me a check for a deposit that day. It was more money than I had seen in years. I sta read at it for a long time after he left, not quite believing it was real. That's the big break, Elena said that night, coming in from the rain. That's the one you've been waiting for. I nodded. I felt something shifting inside me again. Not a crack this time. Something stronger. Something like steel. Elena, I said. I want to ask you something. Ask. The locket. The one Patricia threw at me. It had your name and number in it. But why did Patricia have it? Why did my brother have it? Elena's face went very still. Your grandmother gave it to your brother's wife. She thought Patricia would keep it safe. She didn't know about the number inside. She just thought it was a pretty piece of jewelry. But she gave it to Patricia, I said. Not to my mother. Not to me. Why? Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, she wanted to test her. She wanted to see if Patricia would keep it safe until you were ready to receive it. She chose the wrong person. Patricia threw it away, I said. She threw it at me like it was garbage. I know, Elena said. But you found it. You held on to it. And now you know the truth. I looked at the locket in my hand. The silver gleamed in the lamplight. The picture of Elena's face was worn, but still visible. The numbers were faded, but still legible. She believed in me, I said. She believed in me all along. And now you know, Elena said. I put the locket around my neck. It hung there against my chest, warm and heavy. Okay, I said. Let's get to work. The restaurant job was the hardest thing I had ever done. 80 chairs. 8 weeks. I worked 18-hour days. Lily slept on a cot in the corner of the garage. Elena brought us food and told me stories about my grandmother that I had never heard before. And every night, I held the locket and thought about the woman who had believed in me, even when no one else did. The 8 weeks of the restaurant job nearly broke me. I woke before dawn, worked until my hands cramped into claws, and collapsed onto the cot beside Lily every night without even eating dinner. Elena kept bringing food and I kept forgetting to eat it. The chairs consumed me. Each one was a puzzle with its own history, its own damage, its own story. The mahogany was old and brittle in some places, warped and swollen in others. I had to steam the joints apart, scrape away the old glue, sand down the cracked surfaces, and rebuild each chair from the inside out. I learned things about wood that I never knew. I learned that oak breathes. That mahogany bleeds red when you cut it. That walnut has a smell like bitter chocolate and old books. I learned to read the grain like a map, to follow the lines of the wood to find where it was strongest and where it was weakest. I learned to trust my hands even when my mind was screaming that I didn't know what I was doing. By the end of week 5, I had finished 42 chairs. I was ahead of schedule. But I was also exhausted, running on coffee and stubbornness and the quiet certainty that if I stopped, I would fall apart completely. Elena came in one evening with a bag of groceries and a scowl on her face. "You look like death," she said. "That thank you," I said, not looking up from the chair I was sanding. "That you need to eat." "I ate this morning." "A piece of toast is not eating. You need real food. Real rest. You can't keep going like this." I stopped sanding and looked at her. Her face was creased with worry, the lines around her eyes deeper than they had been a month ago. "I can't stop," I said. "If I stop, I'll think about everything. About him. About my brother. About Patricia. About all of it. And if I think about it, I'll fall apart. So I have to keep going." Elena walked over and took the sandpaper out of my hand. "Listen to me, Margaret. I know what it's like to run from grief. I did it for 40 years. I ran so hard and so fast that I forgot how to stop. And when I finally did stop, I had nothing left. No energy. No joy. No life. Just a hollow shell where my heart used to be." She put her hand on my cheek. Her skin was rough, but her touch was gentle. "Don't be like me, honey. Don't lose yourself in the work. Work is good. Work is important. But it can't be everything. You have to feel the pain too. You have to let it in. Only then can you let it go." I felt tears welling up in my eyes. I had been holding them back for so long. Months. Years. I had cried at the funeral, of course. I had cried when I signed the papers at the hospital. But after that, I had shut it all down. I had locked the grief away in a box and thrown away the key. But now, standing in that workshop with Elena's hand on my cheek and the smell of wood dust in my nose, I felt the lock start to loosen. "If I can't," I whispered. "If I start crying, I won't stop." "Yes you will," Elena said. "You will. Because you're strong. Stronger than you know. But you can't be strong all the time. That's not strength. That's just hiding." I shook my head. I tried to pull away. But Elena held me firm. "Do you remember the day Rose died?" she asked. "Do you remember what she said to you?" "I was 6, I said. "I really remember anything." "She held your hand," Elena said. "She held your hand and she told you that you were going to be okay. She said that life was going to be hard, but you were going to be rider. She said that the world would try to break you, but you would always find a way to build yourself back up." I shook my head again. "Rider this time. I don't remember that. I don't remember any of that." "Maybe you don't," Elena said. "But she said it. And she meant it. And she was right. Look at you. You're here. You're rebuilding. You're taking broken things and making them whole again. That's what she did. That's what you do. That's who you are." I broke. The TRS came, hot and fast and unstoppable. I collapsed against Elena and sobbed into her shoulder, ugly and loud, the kind of crying I hadn't allowed myself since my husband was still alive. I cried for him. I cried for my grandmother. I cried for the little girl I used to be, the one who believed that the world was fair, that family meant something, that if you were good and kind and loving, the universe would reward you. Elena held me. She didn't say anything. She just held me and let me cry. When I finally pulled back, my face was red and swollen and my nose was running. I wiped it with the back of my hand and laughed. A small, broken laugh. I'm a mess, I said. You're human, Elena said. That's what humans do. They break. They cry. And then they get back up and keep going. I took a deep breath. The air in the workshop smelled like oil and sawdust and old memories. I felt lighter. Not happy. Not fixed. But lighter. Thank you, I said. For being here. For everything. Elena nodded. I promised your grandmother. And I keep my promises. That night, I slept for 10 hours straight. I woke up feeling more rested than I had in months. I ate breakfast with Lily. Real breakfast. Eggs and toast and orange juice. I watched her laugh at something on the television, and I felt something stir in my chest. Something that felt almost like hope that I went back to work on the chairs. But something had changed. I wasn't running anymore. I was building. There's a difference. Running is about survival. Building is about creating. About making something new out of something old. The last chair I finished was the most beautiful one. It had a ca reved backrest, intricate and delicate, covered in scrollwork and flowers. It must have taken someone weeks just to ca erve it. But the wood had cracked in 2 places, and the finish was worn away to nothing. That I fixed it ca refully. I filled the cracks with wood putty, sanded it smooth, matched the stain perfectly. I applied 3 coats of va varnish, buffing each one to a high shine. When I was done, the chair looked like it had been made yesterday. I put my hand on the backrest and ran my fingers over the ca reved flowers. I did it, I whispered. I did it. The day I delivered the chairs was a blur. The restaurant owner, Mr. Henderson, met me at the back door of his restaurant. He looked at the first chair, then the second, then the third. He picked one up and turned it over in his hands. He didn't say anything for a long time. I held my breath, waiting for the criticism. Margaret, he said finally. These are remarkable. The craftsmanship. The attention to detail. These chairs are better than they were when they were new. I felt the tension drain out of my shoulders. Thank you. That means a lot. Means more than you know, he said. I've been in this business for 30 years. I've worked with dozens of artisans. None of them have ever come close to this level of quality. He pulled out his checkbook and wrote me a check. This is for the balance. Plus a bonus. UEA rented it. I took the check. I looked at the number. My heart stopped. It was more than I had made in the last 2 years combined. That's too much, I said. You already paid me the deposit. Keep it, he said. You're going to need it. Because I'm going to recommend you to everyone I know. And you're going to need to expand. Expand. The word echoed in my head. Expand. I had been thinking about survival. About getting by. About making enough to feed my daughter and keep a roof over our heads. I hadn't thought about expansion. Mr. Henderson, I said. I don't know how to thank you. Thank me by doing more of this, he said, gesturing to the chairs. There are people out there who need what you can do. You have a gift. Don't waste it. I walked out of that restaurant on air. I felt like I was floating. I had a check in my pocket and a future in my hands. For the first time in years, I felt like things were going to be okay. That I went back to the workshop. Elena was waiting for me, a cup of coffee in her hand. Well, she asked. I handed her the check. She looked at it and whistled. That's a lot of zeros, she said. It's enough, I said. It's enough to get STA root. Really STA root. I can buy new tools. I can fix up the building. I can hire someone to help. Elena handed the check back to me. This is your money, Marga ret. You renet it. You decide what to do with it. I looked around the workshop. The tools were old. The building was run down. But it was mine. All mine. My grandmother's legacy. My future. I want to fix it up, I said. I want to make this place shine. Not for me. For her. For Rose. She built this place with her own 2 hands. I want to honor that. Elena smiled. It was a real smile, not the crooked one she usually gave me. It lit up her whole face. She would be proud of you, she said. I know she would. ISTA route planning. New equipment. Better lighting. A proper workbench. A space for Lily to do her homework while I worked. I sketched out layouts on scrap paper, measured the dimensions of the workshop, dreamed about what it could become. But that night, as I lay in bed, STA ring at the ceiling, I couldn't stop thinking about Patricia. About her face when she slammed the door. About her voice when she called me worthless. About the locket she had thrown at me like I was garbage. I had done well. I had built something from nothing. But the anger was still there, festering in my chest. It wasn't a consuming anger, not like before. But it was there. A low hum. A quiet vibration that I wanted her to know what I had done. I wanted her to see the chairs I had fixed, the money I had made, the life I had built. I wanted her to know that I was not worthless. That I had never been worthless. That I didn't want revenge. Not exactly. I just wanted to be seen. To be recognized. To be acknowledged as something more than the stray dog on her porch. I turned over and looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully beside me. Her face was soft in the moonlight, her lips slightly pa-root, her hand curled into a fist like she was holding onto something even in her sleep. She was why I had to keep going. Not for revenge. Not for recognition. For her. So she would never have to stand on a porch in the rain and beg for someone to take her in. So she would always have a home. A future. A chance. That I reached for the locket on my nightstand. I opened it and looked at Elena's face. You were right, I whispered. The world does try to break you. But we get strong at the broken places. I'm getting stronger. I closed the locket and put it back on my chest. It was warm against my skin, just like it had been that day on the porch. That I closed my eyes and slept. And I didn't dream. For once, I just slept. The next morning, I got up and STA root building. The expansion took 6 months. 6 months of demolition and construction and endless decisions. I hired a contractor to fix the roof, replace the windows, and rewire the electrical system. I bought new tools, proper ones, the kind that didn't leave splinters in my palms. I built a small office in the back with a desk and a computer and a filing cabinet. I even painted the walls. A soft gray, the color of morning fog. It felt clean. Fresh. New. The day the work was finished, I stood in the middle of the workshop and turned in a slow circle. The place was transformed. The workbenches were solid and level. The lighting was bright and even. The tools hung on pegboards in neat rows, each one in its place. It was beautiful. It was mine. Elena walked in behind me and let out a low whistle. Rose would never have believed it, she said. She would have called this a palace. She built it, I said. I just fixed it up. Don't do that, Elena said sharply. Don't diminish yourself. She built the shell. You filled it with life. That's different. That's important. I wanted to argue. But I knew she was right. I had done this. I had taken a broken building and made it whole again. The same way I had taken a broken life and made it whole again. Lily ran through the door, her school backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Mommy. The sign is up. I went outside and looked up at the front of the building. A new sign hung above the door. Kovacs Restoration. Underneath, in smaller letters, making broken things whole again. It was perfect. It was exactly what I had wanted. Mr. Henderson kept his promise. He recommended me to everyone he knew. Within a few months, I had a steady stream of clients. Hotels, restaurants, private collectors. People with money and taste and a reverence for craftsmanship. They brought me their broken heirlooms, their damaged antiques, their furniture that had been passed down through generations and was now crumbling. I fixed them all. I poured my heart into every single piece. But it wasn't until the 6th month that the impossible happened. I was in the workshop, sanding a walnut desk that had belonged to a senator's great-grandmother, when the front door opened. I looked up, expecting a new client or a delivery driver. My hand froze mid-stroke. Patricia stood in the doorway. She looked different. Older. Tired. The silk robes and perfect hair were gone, replaced by a rumpled blouse and a face that sagged with exhaustion. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Patricia, I said. My voice was flat. Not angry. Not happy. Just flat. Marga ret. She stepped inside, her eyes rooting around the workshop, taking in the tools, the workbenches, the half-finished projects. I heard about your business. I heard you were doing well. I am, I said. What do you want? She swallowed. She looked at the floor. I need your help. I set down the sandpaper. I waited. My husband, she said. Your brother. He's lost everything. The business. The house. All of it. It's all gone. He made some bad investments. He lied to me about the money. I didn't know. I didn't know any of it until the bank came and took everything. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, watching her. We have nowhere to go, she said. No money. No family. No one who will help us. You're our last chance, Marga ret. I know what I did to you. I know how cruel I was. I know I don't deserve your help. But please. Please help us. I looked at her. The woman who had thrown me out in the rain. The woman who had called me worthless. The woman who had looked at my daughter with disgust and told me there was no room for us. And I felt something shift inside me. Not the crack from before. Something different. Something like a door opening. Where is he? I asked. Where's my brother? Patricia's face crumpled. She sta root to cry. Ugly, messy TRS that streaked her makeup and made her look even more Hagay Road. He's in the CAR, she said. He refused to come in. He said you would never forgive him. He said he couldn't face you. I walked to the door and looked out. There was a battered sedan parked on the street. I could see my brother in the driver's seat, his head bowed, his shoulders shaking. I walked out to the CAR. I opened the passenger door and got in. He didn't look at me. He just sta read at the steering wheel, his hands gripping it so hard his knuckles were white. Hello, Marga ret, he said. His voice was hoa rc. Broken. Nothing like the voice I remembered from our childhood. Hello, Richa Road, I said. He let out a bitter laugh. I don't deserve to be called that. I don't deserve to be called anything. I failed you. I failed our father. I failed everyone. You did, I said. You failed me. You let Patricia throw me out in the rain. You let her call me worthless. You let her treat my daughter like garbage. You stood behind that door and you did nothing. He flinched. I know. I know. And I've regretted it every single day. I wanted to open the door. I wanted to help you. But Patricia was so angry. She said if I let you in, she would leave me. She said she would take everything. And I was weak. I was so weak. Where is she now? I asked. Where is Patricia now? She's still here, he said. Despite everything. She came to you. She begged you for help. That's more than I ever would have done. That's more than I deserve. Deserve, I repeated. You don't get to decide what you deserve. That's not how it works. I got out of the car and walked back inside. Patricia was still standing in the workshop, crying, her hands clasped in front of her like she was praying that I looked at her. The woman who had hurt me. The woman who had tried to break me. That why did you come to me? I asked. Why didn't you go to anyone else? Because there is no one else, she said. We burned every bridge. We pushed everyone away. You were the only one who ever showed us kindness. And we threw it away. I thought about the locket. The one she had thrown at me like trash. The one that had changed everything. That I'm not going to give you money, I said. That's not how this works. Patricia nodded, her face pale. I understand. I'm sorry I came. I'll go. I'm sorry. But, I said, I am going to give you a job. She stopped. Sta read at me. What the job? I said. I need someone to help with the office. Answering phones, scheduling clients, keeping the books. It's not glamorous. It doesn't pay much. But it's something. A chance to start over. Patricia's face went through a dozen emotions in the span of a second. Confusion. Shock. Disbelief. And then something that looked almost like hope. Why? She asked. After everything I did to you, why would you help me? I reached into my pocket and pulled out the locket. I opened it and showed her Elena's face. My grandmother believed in second chances, I said. She believed that everyone deserves a chance to rebuild. She left me this workshop because she wanted me to build something from nothing. And I did. Now I'm offering you the same chance. The same chance you never offered me. Patricia sta root to cry again. But these were different TRS. Not TRS of despair. TRS of gratitude. That I don't know what to say, she whispered. I don't know how to thank you. Say you'll do the work, I said. Say you'll show up. Say you'll try. She nodded. I will. I promise. I'll do anything. I closed the locket and put it back in my pocket. Then start tomorrow, I said. 8 o'clock. Don't be late. Patricia left. My brother left. I stood alone in the workshop, surrounded by the tools and the wood and the life I had built. Elena came up behind me. She had been watching from the office, silent, letting me make my own decision. That was extraordinary, she said. That took more strength than anything else you've done. I shook my head. It was nothing. It was just the right thing to do. No, Elena said. It was everything. Because you had every reason to turn her away. Every reason to let her suffer. And you didn't. You chose to build her up. The same way you build up broken furniture. You saw potential where no one else could see it. I looked at the locket in my hand. It was warm, as always, like it had a heartbeat of its own. That Rose believed in second chances, I said. She believed in me. So I have to believe in others. Even the ones who hurt me. Elena put her hand on my shoulder. You're more like her than you know. That night, after Lily was asleep, I sat in the workshop with the locket and a cup of tea. I looked at Elena's face, that familiar smirk, those knowing eyes that I had done it. I had built a business. I had built a life. And I had chosen forgiveness over revenge. Not because Patricia deserved it. Not because my brother deserved it. But because I needed it. Holding on to anger was like riding a broken chair. It was heavy. It was painful. And eventually, it would break you. I had chosen to put it down. To leave it behind. To build something new. The locket lay in my palm, cold and warm all at once. I thought about the day Patricia had thrown it at me. The rain. The cold. The despair. And I thought about the woman I had become. A woman who built things. Who fixed things. Who made broken things whole again. I closed my eyes and smiled. Not a broken smile. A whole one. Patricia showed up at 8 o'clock the next morning. I was already in the workshop, sanding a cherry wood dresser that had belonged to a woman whose grandmother had brought it from Italy. The dust was thick in the air, settling on my arms, my hair, my face. I didn't look up when she walked in. "You're EARLY, I said. "That I wanted to make a good impression," she said. Her voice was uncertain, stripped of the sharpness that had defined her for so many years. That I set down the sandpaper and wiped my hands on my apron. "The office is in the back. There's a desk, a computer, a filing cabinet. The client list is on the desk. You need to call everyone on it and confirm their appointments for next week. Also, there are re-invoices that need to be sent out. The template is on the computer." Patricia nodded. She looked around the workshop, her eyes moving over the tools, the workbenches, the half-finished projects. She looked at the photograph of my grandmother on the wall. "That's her," she said. "Rose." "Yes. She was a remarkable woman," Patricia said. "I knew her when I first married Richa Road. She was kind to me. Kinder than I deserved." "Yes, she was," I said. "She was kind to everyone." Patricia looked at the floor. "I didn't deserve her kindness. I didn't deserve any of it." "That was then," I said. "This is now. Focus on the work. That's all I ask." She sta route coming every day. At first, she was quiet, almost invisible, slipping into the office and staying there until it was time to leave. She didn't talk to me unless she had to. She didn't look at me unless I spoke to her first. But slowly, over the weeks, something changed. I noticed it first in the little things. She sta route bringing coffee. Not for herself. For me. She would leave a cup on my workbench every morning, black, no sugar, the way I liked it. She never said anything about it. She just left it there and walked away. Then she sta route leaving notes. Simple ones. The invoices are redone. The clients are rescheduled. You have a new inquiry from the hotel downtown. And then, one day, she came out of the office and stood at my workbench, watching me. "Can I help?" she asked. I looked up at her. Her face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed, but there was something in them that hadn't been there before. "Determination." "With what?" I asked. "With anything," she said. "I can't just sit in that office all day while you do all the real work. I need to do something. I need to help." I thought about it. I had been working alone for so long that the idea of having someone else in the workshop with me felt strange. But I also knew I couldn't keep doing everything myself. The business was growing too fast. "Okay," I said. "There's a chair in the corner. The one with the broken back. Can you fix it?" She sta read at me. "I don't know how." "Neither did I said. I learned. So can you." I handed her a piece of sandpaper and showed her what to do. She didn't complain. She didn't make excuses. She just sta root working. The next day, she came back for more. The day after that, she asked me to teach her how to use the saw. Within a month, she was fixing chairs on her own. Within 2, she could rebuild a table from scratch. We worked side by side, day after day. At first, the silence between us was heavy, laden with everything that had happened. But as the weeks passed, the silence softened. We sta root talking. Not about the past. Not about what she had done. Just about the work. The wood. The clients. The little details that filled our days. And then, one evening, she broke that I was cleaning up the workshop, putting tools away, sweeping the floor. Patricia was still there, working on a cabinet she had been restoring for 3 days. She stopped suddenly and put her head in her hands. "What's wrong?" I asked. She looked up at me. Her face was wet with tears. "I can't do this," she said. "I can't keep pretending that everything is okay. It's not okay. I ruined your life. I ruined everything. And you just keep being kind to me, and I don't understand why." I set down the broom and sat across from her. "You want to know why?" I asked. "Please," she said. "I need to understand. I need to know why you didn't just turn me away. Why you didn't tell me to go to hell. Why you gave me a job and taught me how to work and treated me like I'm a human being." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the locket. I opened it and showed her Elena's face. "This locket," I said. "You threw it at me. You called it worthless. You called me worthless. And you walked away." She flinched. "I know. I know. I was horrible. I was cruel. I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Maybe not," I said. "But that's not why I'm helping you. I'm helping you because I had to make a choice. I had to decide who I wanted to be. And I decided that I wanted to be the kind of person who builds people up, not tears them down. The kind of person Rose was." Patricia sta read at the locket, at Elena's face, at the faded writing. "Who is she?" she asked. "Who is the woman in the picture?" I told her. I told her everything. About Elena. About my grandmother. About the life they had built together. About the love that had existed in secret for all those years. Patricia listened without interrupting. When I was done, she was silent for a long time. "She never told anyone," Patricia said finally. "Rose never told anyone about Elena. She ride that secret her whole life." "She did," I said. "But she never stopped loving her. And she never stopped believing in me." "I didn't know," Patricia said. "I didn't know any of this. If I had known, maybe I would have been different. Maybe I wouldn't have been so cruel. Maybe," I said. "But we can't go back. We can only go 4-way road." She nodded. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I want to be better," she said. "I want to be the kind of person who builds people up. I want to be like her. Like Rose." I looked at her. I saw the woman who had thrown me out in the rain. But I also saw the woman who was trying to rebuild, just like I had. Who was trying to make something new out of something broken. "You can be," I said. "You can be anyone you want to be. You just have to decide." She nodded again. "I've decided. I want to help. I want to work. I want to earn the trust you've given me." "You already have," I said. "You've earned it. Every day you show up. Every day you work hard. That's how you earn it." She reached across the table and took my hand. "Thank you, Margaret. I know I don't deserve it. But thank you." I squeezed her hand. "You're welcome." That night, I went home with a lighter heart. Patricia was still struggling, but she was trying. That was all I could ask. Elena was waiting for me when I got back to the workshop. She had been watching from the office, as she often did now. That was a good thing you did, she said. Giving her a chance. She needed it, I said. Just like I needed it when I was standing in the rain. You're a good person, Marga. Rose would be proud of you. I smiled. I hope so. But even as I said it, I knew that my journey wasn't over. There was still work to do. Still things to build. Still broken things to fix. And I was ready to do all of it. The morning of the grand reopening arrived with a sky so blue it almost hurt to look at. I stood on the sidewalk in front of the workshop, watching the new sign gleam in the sunlight. Kovacs Restoration. The letters were bold and clean, the gold leaf catching the light like it was on fire. I had invited everyone. Mr. Henderson, the restaurant owner who had given me my first big break. The clients who had trusted me with their family heirlooms. The neighbors who had watched me rebuild this place from a crumbling shell into something beautiful. And Patricia. My brother. Even my daughter Lily, who had grown from a frightened child into a confident young woman who helped me in the shop every weekend. The doors opened at 10 o'clock. People flooded in. The workshop was transformed. The walls were lined with finished pieces, chairs and tables and cabinets that gleamed like new. The workbenches were spotless. The tools were arranged in perfect rows. There were flowers everywhere, white roses and yellow daisies that Patricia had arranged herself. She stood in the corner, watching the crowd with a nervous expression. She had been working with me for a year now. She had learned to fix things, just like I had. She had learned her place. I walked over to her. You did a beautiful job with the flowers, I said. She smiled. It was a real smile, not the brittle one she used to wear. I wanted everything to be perfect. For you. For Rose. I put my hand on her arm. It is perfect. Thank you. The crowd swirled around us. People came up to shake my hand, to congratulate me, to tell me how beautiful the workshop was. I smiled and nodded and thanked them all. But my mind was elsewhere. I was thinking about my grandmother. About the woman who had root this place with nothing. About the woman who had loved in secret and built in silence. About the woman who had believed in me when no one else did. And I was thinking about Elena. She had been quiet the last few weeks. Quieter than usual. I had noticed her slowing down, her movements more careful, her hands shakier. But she hadn't said anything. She had just kept working, kept teaching, kept being my anchor. I found her in the back office, sitting in the chair by the window. She was looking out at the street, her face peaceful. Elena, I said. Everyone is asking about you. You should come out. They want to meet you. She shook her head. I'm not a public person, Marga. I never have been. You know that. But they should know who you are, I said. They should know what you did. What Rose did. All of it. Elena turned to look at me. Her eyes were tired, but they were still sharp. Still full of fire. The world doesn't need to know everything, she said. Some things are meant to be kept. Secret. Sacred. Between the people who matter. The people who understand. I sat down across from her. I understand, I said. I understand everything. I understand what you and Rose built. I understand the love you shared. I understand why you kept it hidden. And I want the world to know. I want them to know that two women built this place from nothing. That they loved each other and they loved this work and they believed in something bigger than themselves. Elena was silent for a long moment. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out something small. A ring. Gold. Worn and faded. She held it out to me. Rose gave me this, she said. On the day we opened this workshop. She said it was a promise. A promise that we would always be together, even when we couldn't be together. I've worn it every day since. I took the ring. It was RM from her hand. I could see the engraving on the inside. E&R, forever. Now it's yours, Elena said. I want you to have it. You are the legacy, marga ret. You are what we built. You are what we leave behind. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. I blinked them back. Elena, I can't take this. It's yours. It's you and Rose. It's everything. It is everything, she said. And I want you to have it. Because you are everything. You are the future. You are the continuation of everything we sta root. We are it. Remember us. And keep building. I slipped the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly, like it had always been meant to be there. I looked at it, the worn gold, the faded engraving, the promise of a love that had endured for decades. I don't know what to say, I whispered that. Don't say anything, Elena said. Just keep going. Keep building. Keep believing in people. That's all I ask. I went back out to the crowd. The workshop was buzzing with energy, with conversation, with hope. I made my way through the people, shaking hands, thanking them, feeling the weight of the ring on my finger. Patricia approached me. Her face was flushed, happy. This is amazing, she said. Everything is amazing. You did it, marga ret. You really did it. We did it, I said. All of us. You included. She shook her head. I didn't do anything. You showed up, I said. Every day. You worked hard. You learned. You changed. That's everything. She hugged me. It was unexpected. Uncomfortable. But I hugged her back. Then my brother stepped forward. He had been hanging back, watching from the edge of the crowd. He looked older now. Frail. He had lost weight, and his clothes hung loose on his frame. Marga ret, he said. Can we talk? I nodded. We stepped into the small office, away from the crowd. Elena was gone, slipped out the back door, I realized. She had given me space. My brother looked at the floor. I don't deserve to be here, he said. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve anything. But I want you to know that I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You did what I never could. You built something. You created something. You made something beautiful out of nothing. I looked at him. The brother who had played with me as a child. The brother who had promised our father he would always take care of me. The brother who had let his wife throw me out into the rain. I don't hate you, I said. I used to. I wanted to. But I don't. Don't you want to know why I didn't come to the door? He asked. Why I let Patricia throw you out? I already know, I said. Because you were weak. Because you were afraid. Because you chose her over me. Because you chose comfort over family. I know all of that. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry, marga ret. I have been carrying that guilt every single day. I should have opened that door. I should have let you in. I should have been the brother I promised to be. You should have, I said. But that's in the past. We can't go back. We can only go four-way. And I want to go four-way. I want you to be part of my life. Part of Lily's life. But you have to earn it. The same way Patricia is earning it. By showing up. Every day. By being better. Every day. He nodded. I will. I promise. I'll show up. I'll be better. I hope so, I said. Because I don't have the energy to be angry anymore. I've been angry for too long. I need to let it go. I need to move on. He reached out and took my hand. I love you, Margaret. I've always loved you. I just forgot how to show it. I forgot how to be a good person. But I remember now. And I'm never going to forget again. I squeezed his hand. I love you too, Richa Road. I've always loved you. That's why I'm giving you this chance. The crowd outside burst into applause. Someone was making a speech. I walked back out, my brother beside me. Patricia was there, her eyes bright with tears. Lily was there, smiling, holding up a flower she had picked from the arrangement. And Elena was there, standing at the back, watching me with a smile that spoke volumes. She didn't need to say anything. Her eyes said it all. You did it. You made it. You are exactly who we knew you would be. I stepped up to the front of the room. The crowd quieted. Thank you, I said. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for giving me a chance. There was a time when I thought I had nothing. When I thought I was worthless. When I thought I would never amount to anything. I paused. I looked at my grandmother's photograph on the wall. I looked at Elena. I looked at my brother. I looked at Patricia. I looked at Lily. But I was wrong, I said. I was never worthless. I was just broken. And broken things can be fixed. They can be rebuilt. They can be made stronger than they were before. I pulled the locket out of my pocket. I held it up for everyone to see. This locket was given to me by someone who thought it was worthless, I said. Someone who thought I was worthless. But it wasn't worthless. It contained a secret. A secret about love. About strength. About building. It contained everything I needed to start over. I opened the locket and showed them Elena's face. This is Elena, I said. She was my grandmother's partner. They built this place together. They loved each other in secret, in a time when that was dangerous. They built something from nothing. And they left it to me. Because they believed in me. The crowd was silent. I saw tears in more than a few eyes. Rose believed in second chances, I said. She believed in building people up. She believed that everyone is worthy of love. Worthy of respect. Worthy of a chance to start over. That's why I gave Patricia a chance. That's why I gave my brother a chance. That's why I'm giving you all a chance to be part of something bigger than yourselves. I looked out at the faces in the crowd. The faces of the people who had helped me. The people who had believed in me. This workshop isn't just about fixing furniture, I said. It's about fixing people. It's about showing them that their broken pieces can become something beautiful. Something strong. Something whole. I held up the ring on my finger. This ring belonged to Elena. It was a promise between her and Rose. A promise that they would always be together. That they would always build. That they would always believe. I'm going to wear it every day. I'm going to carry that promise with me. And I'm going to keep building. For them. For all of you. For everyone who needs a second chance. The applause was deafening. People rushed forward to congratulate me. To shake my hand. To hug me. To thank me. But I only had eyes for Elena. She was still at the back, still smiling, still watching me with those sharp, knowing eyes. I walked over to her. I took her hand. Thank you, I said. For everything. She squeezed my hand. You did it all yourself, Margaret. I just showed you the way. You showed me the way, I said. And I'm never going to forget it. The party went on for hours. People came and went. We laughed and cried and told stories. My brother held Lily on his lap and told her about their grandfather. Patricia danced with a client from the hotel. Elena sat in the corner, watching it all with a peaceful smile. When the last guest had gone, I stood in the workshop alone. The lights were dim. The flowers were drooping. The tools were back in their places that I was standing in my grandmother's workshop. My workshop. The place where I had rebuilt my life. The place where I had learned to fix broken things. The place where I had become whole. That I looked at the locket in my hand. I looked at the ring on my finger. And I smiled that the world had tried to break me. It had thrown me out in the rain. It had called me worthless. It had taken everything away from me. But I had rebuilt it. I had made something beautiful from the broken pieces. And I was never going to stop. If this story moved you even a little, drop a comment below. Tell me about the moment you chose to rebuild instead of break. I want to hear your story too. 3 years ago I was standing in the rain with nothing. One call changed everything. What would you do if you found a number that could change your life? Subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of this journey. That locket is still in my palm. That ring is still on my finger. Some promises never fade. Just like this story. Just like the strength it takes to start over. If this moment hit you, hit that thumbs up, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure you're subscribed. Because the best rebuilds are the ones we do together.